My name is Margaret Yorba. I'm the widow of Captain Bernardo M. Yorba. He was a captain in the Army Air Force and was a cadet here at the Santa Ana Training Center. When I found out he was going to be a cadet here, I managed to get a job in the Army Air Force headquarters that was in Santa Ana, and I quit school at Woodbury College and came out and got a job and a couple of my girlfriends, we got jobs working at the headquarters. My boss was Captain Myers, and it was, I didn't get to see my husband during the week, but on weekends I would come out to the headquarters here, the training center, and get to see Bernardo if he was available, not if he was free to come, and we would come out and visit, and he would show me very proudly around the base and introduce me to some of his friends. And I had loved my job at headquarters, and I was able, through my job with Captain Myers, I was able to give Bernardo his serial number, his number that was his number, and right now I can't remember what it was, but it was a fairly easy one to remember. And so that was my part of the war effort, was giving my soon-to-be husband his serial number. Okay. I became engaged. Got my ring through a friend of the Bernardo's that was here at the air base. His mother had a jewelry store, and as the young cadets did, they played cards and shot craps, and one night he had a big success and won quite a bit of money, enough that he could get his friend to get me a diamond ring. And I have it here with me today. I still have it. Not the same setting, but the same diamond went in the setting. And Bernardo, when he graduated here from the training center, cadet training center, he was sent to Oxnard for his basic training in primary training, and then to Taft for his, no, that was primary in Oxnard, then to Taft for his basic training, and then he moved on up into bomber pilots and got his training at Roswell, New Mexico, where, by the way, is where we married, in the Post Chapel in Roswell, New Mexico, on the day he received his wings and his second lieutenant bars. Later in the day, he was to leave with his class to go to Salt Lake City, Utah, for their assignment of where they would be sent. And they smuggled me on the troop train, and there were 2 or 3 of us girls that got on the troop train, and they must have known we were there because there was rice on the going along the aisle where the soldiers were throwing rice at us after our wedding. And when we arrived in Salt Lake after, I think it was 4 days it took in those days, with the horrible smoky train, and it was so old, and they got them out of the woodwork someplace. I don't know where they got the old trains. But when we arrived in Salt Lake, it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and we couldn't get a hotel. All the hotels were full, and it was we were walking down the street with Bernardo's best buddy, Warren Ware, and finally a little inebriated sergeant came up to us and said, "Excuse me, Lieutenant, but are you looking for a place to stay?" And Bernardo said, "Yes, we were." And he said, "Well, if you're not too fussy, I know a place where you can get a room." And it was the New Windsor Hotel, which was a flop house, and we got it for 35 cents a night. And they had one room, and so, of course, Ware joined us on our honeymoon. In the room there was a double bed and a single bed, and luckily we got the double bed. And it was quite an experience. The restroom and bath was down the hall, and it was an old tin tub, a horrible old tin tub, and Bernardo went over there and scrubbed out the old tub and drew my bath for me, and then stood and guarded the door, which was a kind of a swinging door. It wasn't a real door, it was a swinging door. And he guarded the door for me so I could have privacy and take my bath after 4 days on the troop train. And it was a wonderful experience, and I saw my first snow on mountains there in Salt Lake, and it was beautiful.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your husband, what he did in the service?
But he did what?
As in, after he graduated, he got his wings, and
he got his wings, and he was sent from Salt Lake City. He was assigned to the European Theater, and he was sent to. I got back on the train with him. The soldiers were all back, and we were going to Pyote Rattlesnake Air Base in Dalhart, Texas, well outside of Dalhart. It was Pyote, and they pulled off the train on a siding at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and the soldiers all got off and got on the air base, but we girls that were on there were just pulled off on a siding, and we were there. And from Pyote, after he graduated from there, he went to Dalhart, Texas, and for more training in these B-17s, and got his crew. And then I went home, and Bernardo went overseas, and he got to Iceland, and he had his own plane and his crew, and he flew the plane, and his navigator, Marty Dahl, was the navigator, and they got him across the ocean and landed in Ireland, I believe, and then got over to England, where he was stationed in England, and with his Love, his Smiling Through was the name of the plane. And he had 6 missions before he was shot down over the Schweinfurt raid, which 60 bombers were shot down that day, which was like 600 men. And he was hit by flak, and the plane was going down, and he told everybody to get in their parachutes and jump out. And some of in the back end, some had been killed by machine gun fire and flak, but the rest of the crew that did jump down, but they got to and dropped their bombs before they were shot down, so they completed their mission. Didn't make it back to base, but they completed their mission, and he was he completed his flight, and he gathered up his parachute, and he didn't know where the rest of his crew was. He saw